Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Diaclone Gridman Universe 03 Grid Suits from Takara Tomy. So this is another collaboration in the Gridman Diaclone crossover, and it is 03. Some people might be asking, well, where's 02? I looked into it. 02 is just another large Gridman figure that comes with like another small character and a motorcycle, and since I already had the Gridman from 01, I decided to pass on it. It just didn't seem like there was enough value for me to rebuy the Gridman figure, but when I saw this one, I knew I had to have it. It's basically a tiny Diaclone suit made to look like Gridman. It even has the axe weapon, which I really like, and you actually get a tiny Diaclone figure of Gridman, which I absolutely love. Now, I wish there was a little bit of paint on this. It looks like it's all just done in gray, but I'm assuming just to keep prices down, that kind of wasn't an option. But this guy's going to be pretty tiny, I would have to assume. Most Diaclone suits are, but the little suit itself looks fantastic. I'm really, really excited for this one. Taking a look on the back, you can see how you can go ahead, open it up, and put the little figure inside. And of course, he has his weapons and accessories. So without further ado, let's get him out of the box and let's take a closer look. So here he is out of the packaging. He looks great. Very nicely detailed, great paint applications, very nicely articulated. But he is very tiny. For reference, here is a Lego minifigure. He is barely taller than a Lego minifigure. So they're very small. I kind of thought it would be slightly bigger. I didn't really think much bigger, but I thought maybe another half an inch or so, but it's okay. Like I said, he looks great. Absolutely fantastic. Articulation-wise, you have a swivel here at the shoulder. You have a ball joint here at the end of the shoulder. You do have a hinge here in the elbow. You can spin this around here where the kind of forearm meets the elbow, so right below the elbow. You do have a swivel in the wrist as well, and the hands do open. If we can go ahead and get those to open. There we go. And you don't really have to open them. You can slide the weapons in just like this, but they do open. Nothing in the waist because it opens up, which we'll show off in a moment. Ball joint here in the hip. It does have a knee joint, and then you have a little front to back action in the ankle as well as some ankle tilt. So really nice articulation, especially for something this tiny. And he just looks fantastic. You have a little translucent visor there. Really nice paint applications here on the front. Not too much going on the back, but you can see there are some pegs for some accessories we're going to bring in a moment. So he's really cool. I like him a lot. Here is the super tiny little Gridman figure. Now, if you're familiar with Diaclone at all, you know that they have these super tiny little figures. And like I said, I would have loved a little bit of paint. Usually they do have some paint on the Diaclone figures. But he looks great, molded very nicely. He's got a ball joint for the head. He's got a very limited ball joint here in the shoulder. He's got 90-degree bend in the elbow. He does have an ab crunch. He's got a limited ball joint in the hip, and then he has 90 degrees at the knee. He does have some magnets in his feet, which is pretty cool. So if I bring in my little knife here, he will attach, and the magnets will keep him in place, which I think is very, very fun. And then we can take the grid suits and pop this open. So this opens up here in the center, and then this little flap folds down. And then you just go ahead and pop him inside, like so. Close this up, and then close this up. And then there you go. He is riding inside. You can also open the helmet here if you want to just see Gridman's little head inside, which is fun. But yeah, this guy looks cool. Now, he does come with some accessories. He's got his axe, which looks great, and you can just slide that right in. I love the axe. He's also got a tiny little gun, which you can go ahead and peg into either hand. So he definitely has some great accessories there. And the cool thing is, whichever one you don't want to use, you can peg here on the back. So you can put the axe on like this if you like, or if you kind of like that, you know, hilt above the head look, you can do that as well. So you can kind of have it so the handle is very easily grabbable. You can peg the gun on here as well if you prefer. So you can peg that in here. Or you could peg it into one of the side pegs. They're going to be used for something else in a moment, so they might not be free, but you could peg it in there as well. So let me put these two accessories to the side, and we will bring in his shoulder cannons. So there is very minor assembly to do here for the shoulder cannons. You get 2 cannon pieces, and then you get 2 of these little like joint pieces. And basically what these are going to do is you take this, and I believe this one goes over here. You can see that there's a tiny little slit right there, and that is for this tab right here. So you're going to peg this on like this, and then you want to slide this up, and then that is going to fit in there. It's a bit of a tight fit, but it does work. And then you're going to do the same thing over here with this one. So, oop, I'm doing this back. There we go. Peg this in and then bring this in so that it hits that spot right there. Then we're going to spin him around and peg these into those side peg holes. So do that like so. Actually, I'm doing this backwards. So the way you want to do it, you can see how there's a tiny little like tab right here. That's going to fit into these little recessed areas here. So you want to peg this in like this, and then that'll kind of go down and rest in that little area down there. So let me go ahead and pop this in here, and then it'll come down and sit into that little spot. So there he's got the two cannons on his back, and then because we added those extra pieces now, this can pop out. So you want to unhook it from that little notch that it's in, and then bring this around, and now he's got shoulder mounted cannons. So that's really cool. I love the look of that. And of course you can still have him use the axe or the gun, so he can definitely be decked out with some weaponry. But yeah, he's just a very cool little dude. I like him a lot. But there is one more little feature that if we bring in the fighter from Battles Gridman, if you remember in my review of this, he has this little piece down here that I could not figure out what it was for. It's actually for grid suits. So you can see how it has a little peg here. This can come in and peg onto his back right there. And so then this guy can kind of bring him in as like a drop ship. So he can kind of fly him in and then drop him off to do battle. So there you go. We solved the mystery of what this little piece was for. It is so it can have compatibility with grid suits. And it can then now shuttle him around. So you have the little pilot in here piloting the fighter and bringing him into battle. And then this guy can just deploy by popping off. And then he lands, and then we close this up, and then he flies away. So that's really cool. I love that. I love that it has compatibility with the first release. And yeah, I just really like the look of this guy. He's super tiny, but I don't know. It's part of his charm, I think. It's just, he looks fantastic. I love the molded detail. The paint application's really sharp, and he's got a ton of great accessories here with the shoulder cannons, the gun, and the axe. And I love the little Gridman figure inside. Very, very fun. So I think this guy's great. I really like him a lot. It is kind of funny when you think about this is the size of the box it came in and this is how big it actually is. It's kind of crazy. I kind of thought it would be maybe half an inch to an inch bigger, but it's really not a big deal. I love the compatibility with the first release, Battles Gridman. I love that I can connect to the fighter like that. And it's just a fun little figure. Now I will say, Diaclone stuff is not cheap. I think this was somewhere in the area of 20 to 30, which is cheaper than their usual releases, but it is kind of tinier, so that makes sense. But they do put a lot of love into these. I mean, it's really nicely detailed, really nicely painted. There's a ton of engineering in this with all the different articulation points. I love the cannons on the back. I love the axe and the little gun. The little Gridman figure inside is fantastic. He looks great. I would have loved a little bit of paint on him, but I understand. He's very nicely detailed, so if you're handy and you want to paint him yourself, you could. But for me, I have no skills at that, so he's going to stay gray for me. But yeah, it's a really fun release. I like it a lot, and like I said, I love the connectability with the first release, where it can attach to that fighter. And yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say about this one. You know, okay, I guess maybe a little bit of paint on Gridman, maybe a little bigger, but honestly, I'm having fun with it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.